So we've reached the end of another Nintendo era. Well, I guess that makes the Switch retro now. So in today's video, I thought it'd be fun to take a look back over some of my favourite games and memories of the Nintendo Switch generation. And it has been an incredible generation. No matter what you think of the console, good or bad, there's no denying that it has been a very interesting journey. I've got a whole bunch of games laid out in front of me, and as you can see, I've got a wall of red behind me as well, so I've got loads of really cool stuff to share in this video. Let's go right back to 2017 first, and my first experience with the console before it actually came out here in the UK. So before it came out, the month before I think, we went to a pre-launch event in Birmingham, and I got to play around on the console and check out all of the latest games for it, including the game that I'd been looking forward to the most, Breath of the Wild, and what an incredible launch title this was. It kind of feels like a little bit of a shame that the Switch 2 isn't having quite as big of a launch title as Breath of the Wild was for the original Switch, but I'm still excited for Mario Kart World as well. But Breath of the Wild was something else. I remember I actually got the game and the special edition that came with it before I actually got the system. I did an unboxing here on YouTube and you can see just how excited I was. In fact, I picked up all of my launch games before I got the system, which was being delivered the day after. And I remember I was sat there at the front door like, hurry up postman, I really want to play on the Nintendo Switch. And when I finally got it, I was so excited, and I had my friend Jack round to play on some of the launch games with me, and it was great fun. And then I settled down and played Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it was just an incredible experience from start to finish. And honestly, apart from two obviously glaring omissions to the system, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, the Switch has actually been an amazing console for The Legend of Zelda. So not only did we get Breath of the Wild, we also got Skyward Sword HD, which, until Breath of the Wild came out, was my favourite game in the series. I absolutely loved it on the Wii, and I know a lot of people really love it on the Switch as well. I wasn't so keen on what they did with the controls, and even the motion controls, for me, personally, still didn't feel quite as intuitive as they did on the Wii, but I loved the graphical upgrade, and I loved the upgrade to the frame rate. But it still is an amazing game, and it's got an amazing story and world as well. Of course, Tears of the Kingdom is amazing too, and I really can't wait to play these games again on the Switch 2 with all of the many enhancements that they've got, like the 4K graphics, the 60 FPS frame rate, HDR as well. They're going to look incredible. I can't wait to dive back into the world of Hyrule with these two games, and I'm really interested to check out the phone app as well, where you can use the map and explore all of the different missions and things. To me, it feels like they're actually bringing back what they removed from the Wii U version of the game before it was ported to the Switch in the first place. So really interested to see what that second screen experience is going to be like for the two main Zelda games. But of course, we also got two incredible top-down Zelda games as well. A 3D remake of one of my favourite games from the entire series, and a really cool, completely original game as well, with some really cool puzzles as well. So really happy that both of these games are also getting upgrades for the Switch 2. So if you were put off by the kind of weird frame rate on the original Switch, definitely check them out again, because they are both incredible games. Then after Zelda, the next game that kept me entertained for a long time was Splatoon 2, and I've got a really fun story to go along with this game as well. So at the time, just after this game came out, Nintendo was actually running a competition where you could be featured on one of their adverts for the Nintendo Switch. They were basically asking for people all around the country to record themselves and take photos playing the Switch in various different settings, and it was like, you can play your Switch blank. So me and my girlfriend at the time had the idea to do you can play your Switch on a date. So we went to a restaurant and we took our Switches with us and we played Splatoon at the table with a candle that was photoshopped in after, by the way, but no one knows about that until now. And we sent that off to Nintendo and it was actually featured in their adverts. And I had friends of mine on Facebook who hadn't spoken to me in years saying, Nick, I was so excited, I saw you on TV. Or someone even actually found me in the London Underground, and I was on the back of magazines and newspapers here in the UK as well. So that was a really exciting moment for me, and something that will always link my memories back to the Switch and back to Splatoon 2, which I really enjoyed playing a lot back in the day. Another game that I absolutely loved towards the start of the Switch's life was Xenoblade 2. The original Xenoblade was one of my all-time favourite games. I had like 100% completed it back on the Wii, and I thought it was like the best RPG ever made. So I was so excited to get my hands on the sequel, and I was not disappointed. This is a game that me and my girlfriend played through at the same time as well, and I'd just moved into my own flat at the time as well, so I had loads of spare time to play this game, and it came out honestly at the perfect time for me. And after I'd been living at the flat for about a month, my girlfriend moved in with me, and she brought her TV as well, so we actually had two really big TVs set up side by side in the living room with both of our Switches on, and we played side by side through pretty much the entire game. And we also did that with Xenoblade X on the Wii U previously as well. Whenever I went to visit her up in Wales, I would take my Wii U and we would have two TVs, one next to the other, and we would play all the way through the Xenoblade games. So it was great doing the same again with Xenoblade 2, and the Switch went on to become a Xenoblade powerhouse. It was incredible. Not only did we get Xenoblade 2, we also got the original Xenoblade as a remaster, which was incredible, and Xenoblade 2's DLC, of course, Torna, and we also got Xenoblade 3, which I still haven't played. I know I need to rectify that ASAP. I really want to play it. I've actually been playing Xenoblade X, and I really hoped I would have already finished 3 by the time X came out. And speaking of X, here it is, and that is the entire Xenoblade series, so hopefully with the Switch 2 we might see the rest of the Xeno series. We might see Xenosaga, we might see Xenogears. I know it's kind of wishful thinking, maybe it's kind of difficult for Nintendo to get hold of the copyright and the IP for those series, but it would be great to be able to play the entire Xeno franchise on one system. And I'm also crossing my fingers for Switch 2 enhanced versions of all of the Xenoblade games as well, because some of these do run at quite low frame rates and resolutions, so it would be great to get a bump up to 4K and 60 FPS. I really hope that comes true, but even if not, the Switch has been an incredible console for the Xenoblade series. And there was also some really cool special editions for the Xenoblade series as well. Here's the collector's edition of the first one, and this one actually came with a vinyl record, which is so cool. And I actually got a record player for Christmas last year, so I was really happy to be able to actually play that as well. Another thing about the Switch that I was really happy with personally, because I am a massive fan of the franchise, and you'll know that if you've been around on the channel for a while, because I did those massive retrospectives on the series a while back. That is the Super Monkey Ball series, and the Switch has 3 excellent entries in the series. It has a HD remake of actually one of my favourite games in the series. I know that's kind of a controversial opinion, but I actually really love Banana Blitz, so I was so happy to see that it got a HD remake, and I think they did a great job with what was there to offer based on the Wii version, basically. It's a really great game, and if you want to hear my opinions about this, check out my Super Monkey Ball retrospective. But there was 2 more interesting games for the series released on the Switch. First of all, we have Banana Mania, which is kind of a remake of the first 2 games in the series with some Monkey Ball Deluxe things thrown in. There were a few things that I wasn't a huge fan of, and I did go into that in my review, but the reason that I'm including this in this Memories episode is because something very exciting happened alongside the launch of this game for me personally. And that was the fact that Sega reached out to me to send a press kit, and this was my first time receiving something so exciting, and just watch this clip of me here in the review and you can see the excitement that I was experiencing back then. It's still one of my favourite moments on the channel, honestly. There we go. Of course, it got to be II for this unboxing. So, got this fantastic hat with these giant monkey ears. Man, this is so exciting. And then more recently, Banana Rumble came out as well, and I absolutely love that game too. I didn't get around to doing a review of it at the time, but I did stream the whole thing over on Twitch, and there is a VOD available on my website if you want to go back and check out my experience with this game. But I have to say, it is one of my favourite games in the entire Super Monkey Ball series, and I really hope that Sega keeps making new entries in the Super Monkey Ball series now that they seem to have absolutely perfected the formula with this one. There is one game though which is absolutely synonymous with the Nintendo Switch, and that is of course Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I've got a really interesting story as to how we got our hands on this edition of the console right here. So, as a lot of you know, Animal Crossing came out at the perfect time, which unfortunately for the rest of the world was the beginning of the COVID pandemic, but during that time, me and my girlfriend Sarah were actually away in Japan, and we planned it perfectly, not intentionally obviously, but basically as COVID was kicking off in the UK, we were actually over in Japan, and things were fairly normal there, and we had a few days left before we had to come back to the UK, and this version of the console, along with the game, was just about to be released. And Sarah really wanted to get the Animal Crossing version of the Switch while we were in Japan to play the game on a brand new console on the flight home, but it was seemingly impossible to get our hands on it. And we'd kind of pretty much given up hope. We'd done all of the lottery things, we'd done all of looking online, it was out of stock everywhere. Of course, scalpers were getting their hands on it and putting it on eBay for way inflated prices, so we basically gave up on the idea, and we were just going to get the game normally as a download to be able to play on the plane. But when we were looking around in Yodobashi, Akiba, the giant technology store in the centre of Akihabara, the world's biggest technology store basically. So I was actually in the shop just looking for some Switch games to buy, and I've got the games that I bought here. We've got Grisaya, which is a fantastic visual novel. We have S-Braid, which is one of my favourite vertical scrolling shooters of all time, and Project Diva as well, which was the main game that I was excited to get at the time, and I got it alongside one of those Bluetooth USB-C adapters before the Switch was actually updated to allow Bluetooth connections. But while I was picking these up, there was a little Animal Crossing display next to the Switch games, and Sarah was looking around there, and there was a bunch of people standing around, but we didn't really think anything of it. And I looked over, and Sarah looked over as well, and one of the staff members was putting a bunch of tickets on this display. So we went over and had a look, and I think Sarah picked one up and brought it over to me, and she was like, "Nick, does this mean I can just go to the counter and get the Animal Crossing Switch?" So we went over to the counter with this ticket, not entirely sure what it meant, gave it to them along with these, you know, thinking it was a pre-order or something, or maybe the chance to get one, and maybe we'd have to come back into the shop whether we won that ticket or not. But they came out not only with the games and the headphone adapter, but with this, and we were completely not expecting this whatsoever, and we ended up walking out of the shop that day with the Animal Crossing version of the Switch, so we were just completely mind blown. And as you all know, Animal Crossing was the game throughout the entire of COVID, throughout the entire of the Switch's user base, and that's pretty much all we played as well. I downloaded it on my Switch, and Sarah was very happy playing it on her brand new one right here, and we both had an incredible time with that game as well. Although I did kind of make myself a little bit upset seeing all of the insane islands that people had made on Twitter and YouTube, and comparing that to my island, which was just nowhere near up to those standards, and I kind of got a little bit burnt out because I felt like I didn't have enough time to put into the game as everyone else, and it was kind of making me a little bit depressed. So whenever the next Animal Crossing game comes out, I am not going to compare myself to anyone else. I'm just going to play it at my own pace and enjoy myself with it. But let me know your experience with Animal Crossing on the Switch down in the comments below. Another game series that I've had an incredible amount of fun with on the Switch, and I'm so happy that all of these are playable on one console as well, that is the Pikmin series. Pikmin, for me, is one of Nintendo's best franchises. Honestly, I've had more fun playing the recent Pikmin games than I have playing Mario or Zelda, and I know that is maybe a very controversial thing to say, but I just absolutely love the series to death, so it is so great that I can say that we can play the entire mainline Pikmin series on one console, and honestly, every single one of these games is a masterpiece. Pikmin 4, when that came out, that was my game of the year. Pikmin 3 was my favourite game on the Wii U, and it is so much fun on the Switch as well. It includes all of the DLC, all of the extra missions, Olimar's story, and all of the amazing story of Pikmin 3 as well. And playing 1 and 2 in HD on the Switch as well was an absolute dream come true. One of my all-time favourite franchises, and it's so great to have them all on one console too. I really hope they'll get updates for the Switch 2 as well. It would be amazing to play them in 60 frames a second, so fingers crossed that does happen. And I'm pretty sure it will. I mean, Nintendo is kind of pushing the Pikmin series recently, especially with all of the figures and all of the different merchandise that you can buy in Japan as well, so it would be great to see updates to the games. And let me know what you guys think of the Pikmin series down in the comments as well. It would be really interesting to hear from some more fans out there as well. They're kind of rare to find in the real world. As well as existing series, the Switch did come out with some amazing brand new games as well. Not quite as many interesting things from third parties as I would have liked. There was a lot of ports from more powerful consoles and PC, which kind of isn't what I'm really looking for from a Nintendo console, but there were some really cool exclusive games as well, like Astral Chain. I'm sure a lot of people who got a Switch were really excited about this game right from the very first trailer, and it did not disappoint. This is another one that came with a really cool special edition as well, so I've got that right here, as well as this plaque here to say that it was one of a number of limited editions. Such a cool game. I would love to see a sequel on the Switch too. And of course, this is also where Octopath Traveler and the whole HD 2D graphics style got its start as well, and that is still going very strong today with the more recent remakes of the Dragon Quest series and of course Octopath Traveler 2, and I was very excited to also get the special edition of this back in the day when it came out too. And it was a great game, although I did kind of tire of it towards the end, and I never did play the sequel, so let me know whether it's worth playing Octopath Traveler 2 down in the comments. And another game that basically came out of nowhere during COVID, and I was very excited that this one came out, and I absolutely loved it. I 100% completed it, in fact. That is Cruisin' Blast, an arcade conversion to the Switch with a bunch of new single and multiplayer mode options as well, and it is honestly my favourite arcade-style racing game in a long time. I really enjoyed this when it came out. It felt like a breath of fresh air, and I really hope that Raw Thrills saw the enthusiasm for this game and releases some of their other arcade games onto the console in the future as well. That would be amazing. Even if they're just downloads like the arcade archives, it would be really cool to see some of those more higher-end arcade games get a release on console again. Another game that I was super excited for during the Switch era was Metroid Dread. This is a game that Nintendo fans had been hearing about since 2004 when it was first announced for the Nintendo DS. Way back in the day, and it was incredible to see that title pop up in the Nintendo Direct, and of course I've got the special edition of it right here, and it is honestly one of my favourite gaming experiences of the entire generation. If you've never played it before, definitely check it out, and I really hope it also gets an update for the Switch too. It would be amazing to see this game in 4K. And of course, Metroid Prime Remaster was also a really nice surprise too, and I am so excited for Metroid Prime 4, although it would have been nice to also get 2 and 3 as well, but honestly, I'll take what I can get. This is like the best Metroid has been in a long time. And the final few games I wanted to mention here are some of the more interesting remakes for the system. So the Switch obviously got a lot of basic Wii U ports with minimal upgrades, as well as a bunch of like HD re-releases of Wii games, like most recently Donkey Kong Country HD, but there were a few more that had put in a bit more effort. So we had this incredible version of Super Mario RPG. I absolutely love what they did with the graphics in this, and I'd never fully played through the original Super Nintendo version before, so it was great to experience this for the first time on the Switch, and I had a great time doing so. Another really amazing remake was the Trials of Mana remake, and again, I'd never properly played it on the Super Nintendo, but I absolutely fell in love with it on the Switch. I honestly think this is one of the best action RPGs of all time. Absolutely incredible game, and I loved the follow-up as well, and I would love to see more of those 16-bit action RPGs get remakes on the Switch too. Can you imagine something like Terranigma playing like Trials of Mana? That would just be incredible, a dream come true. I really hope that Enix and Quintet can figure out the IP rights and bring us back some of those classics. I really hope that can be the case in the next generation. Another remake that I really loved, I'm a massive fan of the Advance Wars series, so when Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp finally came out, it got delayed a few times, when it finally came out, again I just fell in love with that entire series, and I 100% completed Advance Wars 1, and I'm about halfway through the Advance Wars 2 campaign as well. It is one of the best turn-based strategy games of all time, and they did an incredible job porting it to the Switch. I really love the updated visuals too. And finally, another code, Recollection, was a really nice surprise. I am an absolutely massive fan of the first two Another Code games on the DS and the Wii. So to see them remade and completely remastered, not just a HD update, was a dream come true, honestly. And I haven't completed it. I really need to go back and play more of it. And I would really love to see King or Sing, or however you pronounce it, come out with a Hotel Dusk and Last Window follow-up to the Another Code collection. That would just be incredible. And I'm actually playing through Hotel Dusk right now on the DS and absolutely loving it. I'd never got around to playing either of those games before, so I'm going to try and play the originals before the remake gets announced. And I know there were some trademark things going on around Hotel Dusk, so it is not out of the realms of possibility that that will happen very soon for the Switch 2. So fingers crossed it does, because I love updates like this. And that is it for the Nintendo Switch generation and my favourite games and memories. Let me know yours down in the comments below. I can't wait to play the Switch 2. It came out yesterday as of the release of this video, so I will be playing it right now, playing Mario Kart with all my friends. Thank you all so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your memories down in the comments below, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.